А? Ты начинаешь все говорить, я...
Good afternoon. My name is Sviatlana. I'm advisor to Sviatlana Tsikhanouskaya. Sviatlana Tsikhanouskaya is the leader of the democratic Belarus. She is visiting Brussels. Today she talked to the ministers of foreign affairs of EU countries. Yesterday we met members of European Parliament. On August 9, we had presidential elections falsified by Lukashenko. According to official data, Lukashenko received more than 80%. According to independent polls, surveys, Lukashenko has lost. We don't have the numbers for Sviatlana Tsikhanouskaya because all the ballots, all the numbers were destroyed. Since August 9, we see the protests happening in Minsk and regions. More than 1.5 million Belarusians protest every day. 44 days of protests. More than 12,000 people detained. We see continuous violence on the streets. On August 9 and 12, we see people also killed. Sviatlana Tsikhanouskaya created the National Coordination Council in order to ensure a peaceful transition of power. Lukashenko replied to this decision by arresting the board of the National Coordination Council, and right now the leadership of the National Coordination Council is either in jail or abroad, forced to leave Belarus. Sviatlana Tsikhanouskaya asks not to recognize the results of these elections. The same as Belarusian people protesting every day and suffering from freedom and democracy. So I think we will take questions. I think we can start with questions. Perhaps 2-3 questions we answer. We have about 40 minutes if it works. Who will be first? Please introduce yourself. Okay, so the gentleman in the second row, the first was. Yes.
Hello, do you hear me?
Yeah.
We hear if we have a microphone.
Thank you very much. My name is Yuri Shiko. I'm a correspondent of Ukrainian and Russian services of Deutsche Welle in Brussels. So if you allow me, I will ask 2 questions in Russian. So I think it will be easier for you to answer. Госпожа Тsikhanouskaya, скажите, пожалуйста, вы сегодня встречались, например, с министром иностранных дел стран ЕС. Скажите, с каким обращением, что вы, скажем так, с чем вы обратились к ним, просили ли вы о чем-то их? И второй вопрос по поводу санкций. Как вы считаете, нужны ли санкции, которые готовит ЕС против ряда, около 40, да, то, что мы слышали, чиновников, высокопоставленных чиновников в Беларуси, и будут ли они эффективными, эти персональные санкции, по вашему мнению?
Thank you. Let's take 2 more questions and then answer. Yes, please.
Hi, it's Dorota from Polish TV Post. I don't know what something like this.
The question was about sanctions and about the topic of this morning address to foreign ministers.
So I have just 2 questions. What expectations do you have from this visit and meetings in Brussels? And are you not disappointed that the preparation of the list of EU sanctions lasts so long?
Okay, and the third question was the gentleman there.
Thanks. Grigori Zhuvalov, RFERL, Ukrainian Service and Currently. Okay, I have also 2 questions. First, when you were meeting with foreign ministers, did you meet foreign minister of Cyprus, the country which was blocking the sanctions against Belarus? And if not, did you speak to them? And the second question is, in one of your recent interviews, 3 times you mentioned that Putin and Moscow are wise. So do you consider it wise when Putin in 2013 was supporting Yanukovych similar way he now supports Lukashenko? Do you consider it wise the annexation of Crimea and sending proxies to Donbass? Thanks.
Hello. Thank you for your gathering here, that you want to listen to my answers to the questions, and let's start. So, first of all, about my meetings with ministers. We had rather fruitful meeting. I'm really grateful to all the countries who are supporting Belarusian people in our fight for freedom, in our fight for our rights. And of course, I asked for help from these countries because we realize that I think that we did a lot to manage this situation by ourselves, by only the strength of Belarusian people, but now we understand that we need exterior help. So, first of all, about sanctions. Of course, sanctions are very important in our fight, because sanctions is the part of pressure that will force so-called authorities to start dialogue with us through coordination council that I have created. The secondly is I asked for European countries not to recognize Mr. Lukashenko illegitimate, because he lost his legitimacy in the eyes of the Russian people right after the 9th of August. And one more very important thing is that I asked Europe and other countries not to support financially the regime, because all the money that Mr. Lukashenko can get now, it will not go for the sake of Belarus, it will not go to people of Belarus, it will be only for violence, for killing Belarusian people. So once again, I call for all the countries just stop support this regime financially.
Что еще было? Разочарование, что так долго принимают санкции.
So as for why sanctions are, it's taken so long time to impose these sanctions. I think that leaders have reasons to not to push these sanctions, but at this meeting I asked just to be more brave in their decisions. About wise Putin. You know, I called him wise Mr. Putin because he can't not understand what's going on in Belarus now. He be really disappointed that he supported regime but not Belarusian people. And I think he, all the people all over the world remembers the Ukraine, and I'm sure he doesn't want this to be repeated in Belarus. So that's why I think he understands that nobody wants this to be repeated. Thank you.
Regarding the question about Cyprus, we didn't see the Minister of Cyprus. Perhaps he was on the road, but we didn't talk to him. Let's take another round of questions on this.
Thank you. Sviatlana Tsikhanouskaya, Sviatlana in English, if I may. Past the sanctions, if Lukashenko at some point is out, what are the first thing? What is your program for Belarus in terms of first step, getting him out, and then what? You said that nobody wants the repeat of Ukraine in Belarus. So would you try to keep the balance between Moscow and the EU, or would you see Belarus moving closer to one or the other?
Gentleman here? Yes, sir. No, the first row, the gentleman here.
Hello, Adam Parsons from Sky News. You are a different sort of politician who looks at politics in a different way. I wonder, from a personal perspective, what do you make of the fact that the European Union, after 44 days of condemning this, hasn't actually done anything other than condemn, other than use words rather than action? What does a new type of politician make of that?
Thank you. And the third question, so the gentleman in the last row, yes.
Hi, Mark from Associated Press. What have you learned about the limitations that the European Union can do to aid your cause? And my second question is, how long are you planning to live outside of Belarus? Where is your new home? Is it Belgium? Is it Lithuania? Are you going back to Belarus?
Okay, thank you. First of all, about Russia again. You have to understand, this is absolutely internal political crisis in our country, and we really want to solve this by ourselves. And there are many tools to solve this problem without Russia, and we really would like to call once again, just respect our sovereignty, just give the right to Belarusian people to decide by themselves where we want to go, how we see our future, and try not to interfere into political life of our country, and we will manage. Then
Твоя программа.
Три пункта.
Какая твоя программа? Ні, яка програма після виборів. Скажу, що зараз 3 команди, а програма потім.
Okay, my program after new elections. So, as you know, during this election campaign, I had a very simple program. It's release of politician prisoners. It's change coming back to Constitution of 1994, and the main point is new, free, fair, and transparent elections. And when the third point is reached, so all the people who are ready to lead our country, who are ready to run for presidency, they will show to the people their own programs, and only people can decide who they would like to choose from these candidates. And these people will tell their programs. So, did I answer that? And
Як ти будеш жити після і як довго заміжеш?
As for coming back to Belarus, you have to understand, I adore my country. I want to come back there because it's my motherhood, my relatives are there, my friends are there, and I can't imagine living somewhere except my country. But I don't feel me and my children safe there. Of course, I could come there, but you know what I know, and you have to know what is waiting for me there. I just can go there and sit to jail. And do you think I will be able to do anything from the punishment cell? I think no. And this is what this regime wants, just national leader to go back and be put in jail, and I don't know, nobody will be able to defend them. It's such happened that I'm on this position, and I think that I can do in other countries, just being on freedom, I can do much more for my country, for my people than sit in this cell. But as soon as I see the dialogue starts or politician prisoners are being released, I will go to Belarus right now, right at that moment when I see that we have started dialogue with so-called authorities.
Yes,
Hello, this is Anna from Euronews. I would like to understand, after 44 days of fight, if you have seen any change or any possibility that one of the demands is accepted from Lukashenko. And secondly, would you like to see Lukashenko in the list of persons that are going to be sanctioned by the European Union?
thank you. Gentlemen, in the first row.
Yes, Napoleon from Belgian Television VRT. You were asked several times to respect the sovereignty of Belarus also in the past. But don't you fear that Lukashenko is giving away this sovereignty because he doesn't have any other option than close relations with Russia and giving concessions to Russia he never wanted to give before because of the fact that he's weak?
One more question, yes, please.
There's another television. If there is another election, would you put your candidate, would you run for the president and why?
Okay, thank you. So as for 44 days of our protests, what I know is that our Belarusian people, they will not give up. They are not ready to live with Mr. Lukashenko anymore. They will not be able to forgive him for his crimes, to forget all the violences he committed towards Belarusian people. And this what matters in our situation, that we will not be able to come back to our mental state we used to have for 26 years. We have changed forever. Maybe our protests will change. They will change form of protest because we understand that and we are threatened by this, that raining will come soon and it will be winter, it will be cold. Just our Belarusian people are very creative. They are united. They want to build new country for life, and that's what means for what is important for them. Yes, as for sanctions for Mr. Lukashenko himself, of course, I think it is necessary. It is necessary, and when there will be new free and fair elections, I'm not planning to run for presidency. Я ответила только что. Because first of all, I have promised to my people, to the Russian people, when they were electing me, that I'm not going to do this. And Belarus will be really in deep economic hole at that time. And I'm sure that Belarus needs a strong leader, strong economist who knows the real ways out of this economic hole. And I think we will choose such strong person for this for presidency.
Do you see such a leader now?
We had very strong candidates on these elections who were kicked out of this election running, of this election campaign, just by different way. I can say Sviatlana Tsikhanouskaya, they were strong leaders. That's why they were kicked out of this election. They will be able, the same as any other person who feels strength in the future, to run for presidency, and only people have right to choose. Yes, we will have opportunity to choose whom they see as the leader of our country in the future. Some.
regarding sovereignty. So I try to take this question. We discuss it very often, and there is a problem that Lukashenko really gave up part of the sovereignty regarding the border protection and regarding information security. We don't have a developed position on this yet. We are very greatly concerned about this. The Belarusian state television channels and media outlets, they are de facto managed by Russian-based specialists. I think this is the interference already. We are trying to develop a position on this issue as soon as possible. We also see that Russian media outlets, they build presence on Telegram channels. They buy out YouTube ads actively, criticizing Sviatlana Tsikhanouskaya, criticizing the democratic movement. And it seems this campaign is quite coordinated and organized. Regarding the border, so we see that drills that's supposed to be between Belarus, Russia, and Serbia conducted these days. Serbia did not participate, but Russia and Belarus continue these drills on the border with Poland. And the signal that Russia can actually send that it does not interfere is to stop these drills. And this is what we requested. If Russia wants to show that they are not interfering, please take your troops out of the country. Unfortunately, it did not happen yet. Let's take another question. So we have lady there.
Hi, Terry Schultz with Joe also. Even if the sanctions were passed, they end up being fairly symbolic on people who are, committing violence. Do they really care that they have a visa ban to the European Union? That's one of my questions. I mean, when you ask for no interference, what could practically, other than a decision by Lukashenko, stop the violence on the ground? And the EU has not called yet for a new election. Do you find that as essential as passing sanctions? And finally, do you still think there's a credible threat, to both of you perhaps, that Russia will reinforce Belarus if needed militarily? Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, please.
Это будет твой вопрос.
Thanks, Jacopo Ragazzi with Politico, nice to meet you. And I have a simple question on your point before stopping the support of financial regime. Do you mean that also the 53 million that the European Commission put on the table now for Belarus should be stopped, and I refer specifically to the 50 million that the Commission promised for the health system there in Belarus? Then I have a second question, because leaders are about to gather virtually for the United Nations General Assembly, and I was wondering whether there was a specific message for them. Thanks.
Thank you. And one more question on this round. Are we ready?
No more questions.
Yes,
Just Florinda also from Politico. Is there a risk that the EU can do too much, as in stressing the risk of interference? So what would be that step too many that the EU could do possibly to risk probably Russian interference?
Это про что?
Первое, symbolic sanctions.
So, так, а что был за второй вопрос?
About 53 million transfer. Of course, we want this money to be given to fight against COVID, but we don't want this money to be given to authorities of Belarus. About our initiative groups are finding ways how to transfer this money directly to hospital, directly to people who are suffering from COVID, and I think we will manage to do this, because during COVID in this spring when COVID attacked Belarus, I know that many European countries helped Belarus with financially. But it's a pity to admit that our doctors didn't have even usual masks to defend themselves. So we don't know where this money disappeared and why our Belarusian people had to collect money by themselves to help our doctors. So that's why it's no way for this money to go straight to authorities. They have to be given into hospital for doctors directly. So as for sanctions, we have already prepared so-called Tarakovsky list. Tarakovsky is a person who was first killed during peaceful demonstration on the first day of this demonstration. He was absolutely armless and he was coming to riot police to show that I'm not against you, I'm a peaceful person, but they shot in him and he died because of this. So we call this list Tarakovsky, and people who directly committed these violences against peaceful people, I mean riot police, just usual police, and people who made these criminal orders are on this list, and this list will be updated. This list will be updated because riot police was hidden behind black masks, and it will have time to recognize who these people were. And
I can jump in here. So regarding Tarakovsky, we discussed with European partners the possibility of adding this list to the European Magnitsky Act. So there is such discussion on the European level, and I think this is the case when the European Magnitsky Act can be adopted quickly and can help Belarus. Regarding 53 million, Sviatlana today discussed with Commissioner for Neighborhood Oliver Varhelyi the 53 million package for Belarus, how it can be passed, and we have suggestions prepared, how it can be passed without involvement state actors to support COVID victims and victims of human rights violations and torture in Belarus. And regarding the military, I will take it. Yes, I will take all the toughest questions. Regarding military interference, so we don't believe it's possible for Putin, who suffers a lot from internal crisis, economic, political, from Khabarovsk protest. He's exposed after Navalny case. We don't believe it's in his interest to make another invasion as it happened to Ukraine. So he is much more careful here, much more cautious, much more delicate. So he wants to make this this process of influence in Belarus politics without involvement of soldiers, of army or police. So it's more informational, it's more culture, it's more on diplomatic level. But in case, of course, if we will have evidences of presence of Russian soldiers, police, troops, and receive such information that we cannot prove them, if it will be confirmed, that will be another discussion. So far, there is no such proofs. So far, Lukashenko has enough support of his own riot police. He has control over army. We see many defectors, of course, but perhaps it's not enough for the regime to collapse. Another round of questions. Месседж для европейских лидеров. Основной наш месседж.
So
message to EU leaders, right?
Message, yeah, thank you. So first of all, don't support our regime financially. The second, please don't recognize Mr. Lukashenko as legitimate leader of Belarus. and yes, just National Coordination Council was formed by my initiative, just to like a body who organize dialogue between people and authorities. So I call for recognizing legitimacy of this body as the only one legitimate body in Belarus. Okay, so there is Belarusian people don't trust Mr. Lukashenko anymore. They don't see him as a leader of our country. So all their statements, all their
deals, agreements.
Okay, all the deals that there are between any countries that are signed now, they will be, or they can be reconsidered revised in the future, because this is not the will of Belarusian people to sign such. Just 1 second. It's not the will of Belarusian people to help me with the word.
Belarusian people are not to respond to Lukashenko's decisions right now.
Thank you, Vlad.
And also there was a question about interference. So you asked about interference, not interference.
Oh yeah, the sovereignty and our independence are the things that they are not going to be discussed at all in our country. This is our country. We want to live in Belarus as a sovereign country. So just we call to respect the sovereignty of Belarus and just not to interfere into this political crisis. We have to try to deal with it by ourselves.
Okay, so let's have another round. Okay, let's take questions. It works. So, gentlemen here.
Thank you. Hello, David Wayne from AFP, Agence France Presse. There was just one question I wanted to repeat from my colleague Terry. Would you like the EU to make a clear call for new elections? Would that help?
Yeah, for sure. We really need this call from European Union, because this is the main goal, the main purpose of our fight at the moment.
Okay, 2 more questions. Please.
Adam Parsons again from Sky News. Two quick things, if I may. Joseph Borrell has tweeted, the EU has no hidden agenda. Belarusian people should be able to freely choose their president without persecution and repression. Then he says, only an inclusive national dialogue can lead to a peaceful and sustainable solution. I wonder if I could ask your reactions to that. And also, you won't run for president. I wonder what you see as your future role, bearing in mind you are now on the global stage, one of 2 very famous Belarusian politicians, and the other one is somebody you loathe. Are you not actually the person that Mr. Lukashenko would fear most? Doesn't that mean that you should reconsider you should run for president?
Еще громче мне скажи.
Разглядеть все-таки истина президента, потому что это непопулярное. А другое, я прокомментую, что Боррелл сказал, что только диалог решает проблему. Сказал, что только диалог, они не будут использовать Лукашенко. Диалог может быть с представниками режима. Лукашенко
Okay, so as for future elections, I understand that thanks to world, I became famous in this fight for our country, but I here represent not myself, I here represent all the Belarusian people. I'm just among them, I'm one of them, and it's not me who is famous, it's Belarusian people who is famous now, because what they're doing now is a feat. And I have to repeat once again that I'm sure that for our future Belarus, a strong, economically educated person has to be a leader of our country. And I'm sure that Mr. Lukashenko was afraid of those strong leaders who he kicked out of this election campaign, and they will be wonderful
leaders, campaign leaders.
Yes, wonderful campaign leaders in the future. So even if Belarusian people will ask me to stay to run for presidency, I will refuse. Because I have aim. I'm here like a transitional person, and I will fulfill my promises in front of Belarusian people. And as for dialogue with Lukashenko or not? So we always said that the only thing Belarusian people want and demand now is dialogue between Mr. Lukashenko and nation, because we are peaceful people. We want this political crisis to be solved.
The other ways to solve
just to be solved peacefully. Okay, to be solved peacefully, and we organized this. I organized this coordination council just for them to see a body where we can sit around the table in this round table and just to talk. You know that our president have never listened to Belarusian people. He didn't pay attention to us. We didn't mean anything for him. And now we just want him to listen. We are enough. We don't want you to beat us. We don't want this violence. You have to recognize that you lost all the legitimacy in the eyes of Belarusian people. Just sit and talk to us. First time for your presidency. Listen to us. Because if you love our country, if you love your people, as you already say, just listen to us. And it's the best way out for Belarus as a country, as a nation, is to let him go. Just please step away, and we will manage to build a new country without you. We will not lose this country, as you already say, that you built this country so long time. Of course, he did a lot for Belarus, but now it's enough. We are leaving this regime, but we want to build a new country for our children. We don't want our children to go out to the streets and be afraid that we will be jailed, that we will be beaten. We want to have our rights. We want to have right to speak. We want to have the right to stand and to select our president freely and transparently. So this is internal political crisis, and it can be solved rather easily. Just it is a fight against just one person, and. We are the majority, and we suffer really every day from these 44 days. People are suffering. They step over their fears every day. They go out for demonstrations. They are protesting, not because we are just opposition, as they call us. We are the people of Belarus, and we want these changes. And just let your people to decide your future by ourselves.
As promised, the last question, the very last question. Yes. But brief one, please.
Good morning, Julien Desbarito from French television. Just once again, to be clear, are you confident that Europe will take sanctions at the end of the week? And what did they tell you precisely this morning?
I can't be confident in anything, it's a pity, but I'm sure that they will do their best because they are really supporting us. They understand what we are fighting for, and I really believe that they will do everything they can just to help our people to win in this fight. And one
yes, I can just summarize our points. So we are meeting today commissioners. We are meeting the European Parliament members. We are meeting Donald Tusk. We are meeting Foreign Affairs Committee. So our messages are pretty clear. They are not changing. So they'll legitimize Lukashenko. We don't recognize him as president, the same as all his deals, including with Russia, because now it seems that Russia is negotiating something like the common currency or common tax system with Belarus, which can bring a lot of losses to Belarus economy, and we are pretty explicit about this. So no deals from today and in the future recognized by the world. The second, we speak about the new bodies that can represent Belarus people, Sviatlana Tsikhanouskaya and her Coordination Council. So these bodies represent the majority of Belarusians. Third, we need the economic support of Belarus. Economic support right now, but it shouldn't go to the state actors, but to media, civil society, educational initiatives, and we have offers, proposals how it can be reorganized. So the regime will not have funds and money to sustain. So economic crisis, this is the next point when the protests and the uprising can spark again. It seems that Lukashenko now has money for 6-8 more weeks, and without additional donations from any side, any third party, he will not be able even to pay money to his official, power vertical, law enforcement, and riot police. And protesters are continuing protesting every day. And on Sundays we had more than 120,000 yesterday. So the protests will not fade out, but we expect strikers, workers to join the protest in the upcoming weeks. So I think if workers will stop the operation, that will be a huge hit on the system, and Lukashenko will have to agree on the dialogue. We also discuss Tsikhanouskaya list, blacklisting the people involved in human rights crimes. We discussed the humanitarian corridor. We already see that hundreds of people injured are getting support from Lithuania, Latvia, Poland. Policemen receive this kind of support from Poland. They come to the border. The policemen that quit their jobs, and Poland adopt them. Poland let them go into Poland, and they receive also support. So basically, our goal is to build the channels, how the people from the government, power vertical, can defect, can support the democratic cause, and have some security after, because we don't want them to be punished. We already saw that all the TV presenters who defected, who supported the Sviatlana Tsikhanouskaya team, they go to jail. So our goal is to save all those who leave the regime, or quit the regime, to be safe. And we continue putting pressure from inside, but also we ask for the European Union to put pressure from outside. We work also, we try to contact Russia, unfortunately with no response yet. And we will be preparing the economic package for the future of Belarus. I think this should be the clear message to Belarus people that after Lukashenko, Belarus will be a modern society, modern state, high-tech industry, which was thriving in Belarus before the crackdown. It will help to modernize Belarus after Lukashenko. I think in 5 years, Belarus can show the real example of e-governed state with the support of all those clever, bright minds working in the IT industry, and Belarus can become part of the European family of the nations and to be a friendly and reliable partner for the whole world. Thank you so much for being today here with us. I'd like to thank Lithuanian representation in the European Union.
and the Lithuanian embassy as well for hosting this press conference. And Sviatlana, the last word for you.
Yeah, I just wanted to tell you, I wanted to say thank you to all the journalists that are with our country now, that are involved in our problem, because we understand that there are a lot of different news all around the world. But I ask you to be vocal about our situation, because our country matters, because our people matter, and journalists in Belarus are also detained for their job, and it's just the job, it can't be done, but it's our country. So be vocal instead of them. Be with us, tell other people about us, and together we will win. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can go.